Amaru, and welcome to, I'm cheap. Welcome to Vision for a Child's Heart.
Now you're supposed to say, this is going to be one of the outtakes.
I'm Amaru, and you're watching Visions for a Child's Heart.
Heavenly mothers crying, sees her children are dying at the hands of the other child. I know her heart is breaking, I feel the earth is shaking, but rivers flow from the tears she cries. She cries, she cries. See Rachel's weeping for her children. Rachel's weeping. Somehow someone's got to save them. Save the children. And if you say that love the answer, why don't we begin? Or will we just end?
Hi, I'm Ms. E, and welcome to Visions for a Child's Heart. It has been a long time since I've sat in this seat, but I'm here for good reason today because it is time to laugh. If you follow Heart Talk with Ms. E on Block Talk Radio, you may have heard this conversation being spoken into existence probably about a year and a half ago. And our guest was my guest on the program, and we had a wonderful time. He's now here in sunny Northern California today to be with us all the way from Lansing, Michigan.
I was shivering, and now I'm free.
Now you're free. Thank God you're free. So welcome, Mr. Amaru.
And she got my name right, so let's give her a round of applause.
Yay. Amaru, of course, as you know, we talk about the issues related to foster care, and he's a former foster youth, but he's much more than that. He is a writer, he's a producer, he's a screenwriter, and an executive producer of a few movies, and has written a few books. But I'm so excited to have him here with us today, and I'm glad that you took it out of your schedule as you're traveling across the states and up the state to be with us today.
My pleasure. I'm a former foster kid, and I always like to say that I'm a former foster kid who made it out. A lot of us don't make it out, and a lot of us don't feel like we can make it out. And a lot of us go back to the same environments that we came from, and so we don't make it out. And so I was driving today, and somebody had said, even though he's a comic too, and he hasn't been on the road or on the road at all as a comic, but he was in the local area as a comic, very funny guy. But he had said, responded to a picture today on Facebook saying, "How lucky." And I had to think about that again. I've been doing this for a long time, and I was like, yeah, I am lucky. I'm lucky that I get to travel around the country, the world, and tell jokes and get paid for it.
And be you.
And be me. What I used to get in trouble for being.
Hello. And you know, it's funny because I tell people, usually the thing a child is good at that they get in trouble for is usually their gift.
Right.
Okay?
Right,
My mother used to tell me I was nosy. And it's like, so as a therapist, it pays to be nosy. That's how I can get people to talk.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I won't even go there.
Yeah, that's usually it. I find that a lot of foster youth have talent. A lot of it is creative because a lot of us retreat to our imaginations as a safe haven. I know I did. So, even when I was at home, whatever was going on, that my psyche didn't agree with, I was gone. I was somewhere else. I was imagining that I was going to come out to my peers that I was Superman. We could be at church, and all I was thinking about was pushing the reverend out the way to let everybody know I had a secret. Oh, I had that. That was probably the most relived daydream of all.
Wow.
Every time I'm sitting there, it could be a full congregation of people. I'm sitting there like this, like I done walked up there and, Reverend, you need to step aside for a second. I have something to say.
Now,
Next thing you know,
I was good. Did you have an S on your chest?
I had S, a B, couple D's. It didn't matter. I was just flying around the building, and everybody was in awe of me. You know, that was,
But as Les Brown would say, you knew that you had greatness within you.
Yeah.
At a young age.
I always wanted to be somebody. I always wanted to be. That's what kept me. I always wanted to be somebody, even when I was around people that was catching felonies. I was never a follower. If I didn't want to do it, I wasn't gonna do it. You could call me names, you could talk about me. I just wasn't gonna do it. I might have got beat up, but I wasn't gonna do it. I always spoke my mind. I always wanted to be somebody, and I knew that if you got a felony, you could still do it. It'd just be a little harder. And I didn't want that a little harder.
Okay.
So, you know, I did just enough not to catch a felony.
Okay. So I want to ask you a few questions to get to where you are today. First of all, you know, I know in your bio you talk about a little bit about your biological family, but how old were you when you went into foster care, and what were the circumstances?
Like I told Mother Love, I have to tell you grades, with the age thing.
Okay.
I went to lockup in the middle of 7th grade. So, beginning of 8th grade, I started foster care.
Okay.
In Allegan, Michigan, and then I only stayed there for a month, and then I went to, I want to say, I know I stayed in one of them for 3 years, my covert one. That was
Your covert one?
Covert, Michigan. I learned the most, and I was abused in that foster home. My last one is where I graduated from. That was in my hometown. Okay. And all of them were dysfunctional. All of them. All of them was dysfunctional. I like my last one better than the rest. The first one was cool too, even though it was in the country. I got kicked out of that foster home over a haircut.
The shag.
The shag. Yeah, you remember the shag. Yes. I got kicked out of a foster home over a shag. A haircut. For real. After, how long was I there? Less than a month. My foster mother came to the school to talk to my counselor about my haircut. She didn't like my haircut. I liked the school. I had only been there for a week. I had obtained a girlfriend. I was on the wrestling team. I was becoming popular. I wasn't going nowhere. I was like, okay, you want me to cut my hair? All right. When we get home, you cut my hair off. And that's what I thought was going to happen when I got home. I got home. I saw some bags in the living room. I thought we had a new kid. Our probation officer was there looking for the new kid. He was like, nope, that's your stuff. They don't want you here anymore. I was like, wow.
Wow. And you had been there, and that was the first foster home?
That was the first foster home. And it was, even though it was in the country and it was the exact opposite of what I saw in the movies, I was happy with it because I had a foster brother. He was cool. He introduced me to wrestling. The school was cool. Like I said, there was no bullying. I didn't get picked on. I was accepted. It was a great start. It was like a taste of something that you ain't gonna ever see.
So what was it that you were taken from? What was it in the...
So my father was a pimp and my mother was a Jehovah's Witness, and that mixture was very volatile. You know, my father would be my father was a monster. He was the guy that'd be like, you know how they did after school. At school. My mama was an instigator. She'd go turn the clock up to that time. Bring it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
She'd be like, bring it. And so that household, you know, they fought. And so I look like my mama and my father. So if I'm with my mother, my mother sees my father.
And is angry with
so
you.
Is angry with me. And I couldn't figure it out when I was a kid, but as an adult, I know what was going down. And so when I was with my father, I pissed him off. Instantly. He see my mama, and he would just whoop on us just to be doing, just Just, you know.
And as I recall before, we talked about your mom also had a mental illness.
Yeah, she's an undiagnosed schizophrenic.
Okay.
It's like she's able to. Well, I just heard she retired, so she's not working at the nursing home right now. But she seemed like a model worker to them. I mean, she's got the same mindset they do. So I mean, of course she's gonna be able to function. You know, I tried to. You know, I talked to my uncle who's a cop. I was like, well, why we should 5150 her? And he was like, no, not if she could take care of herself. She's taking care of herself. All they can do is let her go, and that's what it is. She thinks that me and my brother are out to get her, or that we work for the feds. She always thinks the feds are after her, and she says she thinks the feds think that she's this big drug dealer. I'm like, you drive a Kia. You're the most modest drug dealer I've ever seen. You know, and it just got her, man.
So having to deal with that, and I'm sure the symptoms got increasingly worse, and people didn't know what you were living with.
Got increasingly worse. That was sight unseen. We didn't, you know, when I was a kid, that was far from my mind. I didn't realize that she had mental illness jumping off until, you know, probably about 20 years ago.
Okay.
You know? When we mended our relationship as I graduated from high school and got on the military and started having kids, she got into my kid's life and we had a great relationship for about 7-8 years maybe. So I had my mother for 7 or 8 years, and I tried to talk to her about some of the medications she was taking because they were exacerbating her symptoms. She would always say that she was going to the doctor here and going there, and they done left something in me and they messing with me and blah blah blah. And we just thought, oh, this is my mama being paranoid. But that was something that was elevating, escalating. Yeah. And I would ask her, you know these things that they making you, they exacerbating some of these symptoms that you are having, and she's like, boy, ain't nothing wrong,
And it's interesting when I deal with children who have lived with a parent with a mental illness. First, it seems like it's the norm.
It's the norm.
And then it starts to escalate, and then they don't talk to anybody about it because there's a lot of shame and embarrassment about it. Or they thinking people won't even believe them.
It's not even that she won't talk to anybody. She is in denial that even something's wrong with her.
But I'm saying the kids won't talk to anybody about it.
Well,
right.
How do you deal with it? My uncle was a cop. He said we can't 5150 her because they will release her because she's able to care for herself, which is true. So our hands are tied.
Right. One of the things that I recall in talking to you that I wanted to bring up, because in that environment with your biological family before you were placed, you ran away from home several times.
Oh man, I was bad at it at first. I ran away from home 39 times, which got me put into a foster home. I had to incentivize the system. They wouldn't put me in, and so I ran away from home literally 39 times until they actually put me in a foster home.
Wow. Now, where did you go when you ran away?
School. There's something weird with me, I guess. I didn't want to flunk.
I love it.
And I knew that I wouldn't be able to take mentally being behind my peers. And so a lot of times I get caught in school.
Wow.
School.
Now, where would you sleep?
I sleep in the woods and alleys and people's boats.
Wow. Now I know.
That's a whole new book that I didn't even touch.
Seriously.
About some of the stuff that kids getting away and doing. I did that. I did that.
But I remember you said there was one time you ran away. I don't know, I probably got some of the stories mixed, but one time it was cold. Another time you said you called the police on yourself.
In covert, I ran away from home. It was one of them deep snow too. I was just fed up and I didn't care, and I was leaving. And it was a house full of people for some reason that day. And in this house we chopped our own firewood. It was that type of environment, and we worked. And I was ready to go that day, and I ran. Then I walked to the next town.
Now, was this from the foster home or from your
foster home to the next town? And the next town was at least 20 miles away.
Oh my gosh!
I had no coat on, and by the time I got there, I found this was back when they had phone
booths.
I found the phone booth.
You had a dime?
No, I called collect. Everybody that picked up. I think I called the police department. I said, yeah. They were like, hello? I said, yeah. I ran away from home. She said, really? I said, yeah. She said, where you at? I said, trace the call. Laid up against the phone like this. I was froze. The police came over by and put me in a car just like that.
Are you serious?
They put me in a car just like that. By the time I got home, I was all thawed out. And this how gangster they was at the foster home. They knew I was coming back. So when I walked through the door, it was like everybody, 20 people in the house. Everybody and their mama was around the pool table, circling the fireplace that they had just created, the big blaze, so it'd be nice and warm when I walked in.
So look what you've been missing.
Right, the foster mother, she was sitting in the chair, just all evil, rocking back and forth, chewing some tobacco. Welcome back. You cold? I sat right by the fireplace. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was there for another year.
Okay. Now, and that's the funny part from it, looking at it from this perspective. But also, people don't stop to ask, really, why is someone running away?
Because we interviewed a prominent doctor in the film too, and he said something that I love. He said, we need to make the right placement the first time.
You know, I have this thing, we were talking earlier, and I really believe, you were talking about the dysfunction of the families. We all got some level of dysfunction.
Oh, absolutely.
But I believe, this is me and my thinking, that a child should be matched with someone who shares their dysfunction.
I dig that, because although my foster home was dysfunctional, I could have dealt with it. Especially the last one, it was so ghetto and dysfunctional, but it was home. It was like, you know, like even he let us drink, not liquor, but like beer or whatever. I was a senior in high
beer
school.
is liquor. What you talking about?
Well, not
not
like
hard liquor. Okay. We just don't want our kids to get the wrong.
Right. Well, his theory was, y'all gonna do it anyway. Y'all gonna go out in the street and do it anyway. He said, and he had older kids, so we was hanging out with them. He was like, I'd rather for y'all to do it at the house
than to go out there
and act.
Actually, that was my mother's philosophy.
Right,
People told her I was gonna be a wino.
And we didn't abuse it. We didn't. At least I didn't. We did have some knucklehead foster kids there that would, but I didn't abuse it. I didn't really see anybody maybe one or two wayward kids that abused that privilege. But I graduated. I was captain of the wrestling team. They didn't have to look after me much. If I stayed out until 2-3 o'clock in the morning, I was at school the next day. Okay.
Because you were trusted, and you developed that sense of connectedness, and they knew how far that you would go. And it's sometimes, I know the rules are to protect, but sometimes the rules are so rigid, and the kids will even say, this is stupid. I've seen kids that not being able to participate in extracurricular activities because of something. And one of the things that bothers me too is also, and I know that we, got to protect, but to not be able to go spend the night with some of their closest friends, etc. And that's a kind of hard place to be. But I digressed. I wanted to go back to the whole thing of the issue for moving and what I think about matching children. I believe every family that takes in a child should have a psychological evaluation, just like the kids are required
absolutely. To. When you go as a foster kid, you go to the parent and they got a full dossier on you.
And you have nothing on them.
Nothing.
And then you go tell somebody what you really see is the truth.
Right.
And they say, oh no, that doesn't happen. No. And I'm not putting down foster parents, because I was one myself. And I know we are human. We have our issues. But the trauma that a lot of these kids have already experienced, we exacerbate by our own issues. And that's why I call it hard work. We have to check out our own hearts and know where we're coming from, and to know what pushes our buttons, what our triggers are, and know where it's coming from, and not blame it on the child. Because a lot of the stuff that we're blaming on the child is some of our own stuff. And so the child got issues, we got issues, you get those together, it's gonna blow apart. And so that's very important to me. So I'm wondering, you were running from what?
I was running from
the feeling of
they was working us like dogs.
Okay.
Feeling. It was a farm that we had to get up at 5 o'clock every morning which is not, it's not a bad thing to learn to hard work for a living or whatever. But
when you feel like you're the free labor,
I was with criminals. I was with cats who was there breaking into people's houses, knocking somebody over.
That's right, because you were on juvenile probation.
I was a runaway kid. I was a juvenile. Yeah, I was.
There's the here they call them. I've lost it. I think it's a 602 or the 6 something something.
Yeah, if they would lock me up, I would go to a place called shelter care for non-offenders, and then be placed in a foster home. The people that I was in the foster home with went to lock up and then foster care.
Yeah.
You know,
See, and that's a whole other issue, and I'll probably just go get banged up all aside the head from everybody. But a lot of that is who is willing to pay. If social services is in charge, or the juvenile probation department is in charge, or mental health insurance, they're all trying to figure out who's going to pay for this placement.
Right.
Okay. Another story, and our time is winding up. So you went through foster care, you ran away, you got replaced. You went through about how many homes?
I went to 4 foster homes.
Okay.
I just stayed at my last one. It was, it was in my hometown, so I was like, cool, I'll just deal with it. And I was too old. I was 17.
Okay.
So they were going to let me stay in there until I was 18.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't want to take grown kids.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And but I wasn't a bad kid.
And that was before the law was passed that, but it's still not in every state, where children could remain in care if they were 21, if they were in school or doing something and felt comfortable. Because I know there are some foster parents who don't mind the children being there, but they don't have the means to give them what they need.
I stayed a little bit after graduation until I went to the Army.
Okay.
And
one of the questions I always ask people this, because I'm always curious, because I want to, refine my skills. Did you do therapy? Did you go to therapy when you were in foster care?
I want to say when we were in juvenile home maybe, but not enough. No, I didn't do therapy until probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay, and so you went on your own.
Yeah.
Tell the kids about therapy. Why it's important.
For a comic, it can be detrimental. For somebody in foster care, it's very important. It helps you. You can talk to somebody. It helps you. It helps you get it all out. So that you pretend like you separating some puzzle pieces and puzzle that you're gonna put together. It helps you get it all out there, and you get your corners with the corners, and you get your straight pieces with the straight pieces, and then you figure out where to put all that stuff in the middle. And talking to somebody, sometimes they don't even have to say nothing. They don't have to say anything. When you talk about it and let it all out in a safe environment, then now you can see all those pieces, and sometimes you answer your own question. And so that's what's important. So to put all those pieces together for a comic can be detrimental. I might need some of them pieces messed up a little bit so I can.
So do you mean you'll mix them all up?
Yeah, I got to mix them all up.
Okay.
To fix me might do me some damage.
Okay.
So I got to be damaged a little bit.
In order to be effective at what you do.
Drama class. I was in class. I was good at. I would audition for stuff. I played a crash dummy. I auditioned for that. Won it hands down. Used to go to the school. My uncle was a cop, so he was our liaison. He'd take us around to the different schools to put on a show for the elementary kids. I played a crash dummy. I played Larry, I think. We were asked to write stories. The class would always have me go last because mine were always entertaining.
Wow.
And so I used to try to think about where did this come from? But I was always a writer. I was always creating. First, second, third. I remember we used to have creative writing sessions, and I was always creating these long. My stories would be extra long. It'd be like 50, 60 pages. It was just always in me.
And see, and that was also therapeutic for you, which you didn't know at that time.
Yeah, I didn't know at that time.
And I like that because a lot of young people, even when I encourage them to journal, if they're poets.
Now we got another movie project based on that investment, that initial investment. You want to invest in yourself instead of waiting on somebody is my point. So we're doing a movie, and hopefully you get you involved in it. My publicist has written a book called All Cookies Ain't Sweet, and she has commissioned me to turn it into a feature film. And it is dealing with foster care as well. And as
Wonderful
I'm talking
book.
about it, I see some a particular role in it for you in regards to the film.
Okay.
I can see it right now because I'll finish up the script next month, and I can see you playing a part in it. And it's a feature film. The first movie we did was a documentary. This is a feature, and I feel close to this because a lot of the things that I want to show visually, like one of the things that I'm gonna do, and somebody still is. I'm coming to get you. As a kid, the truth about being in foster care. The reason why it's called Annie Was a Liar is because when I was a kid, the only reference that I had to what foster care would be like was the movie Annie, and she lied to me.
So you had to tell the real truth.
Man, she had Daddy Warbucks, a big house. I had Daddy Solomon, and it was a farmhouse.
Okay.
I had roommates. We had to share a room. We didn't get out there. It was totally different.
Okay.
And so in this movie, we confront the differences between reality and movies.
Wow.
And the main thing, the most important thing that I have gotten from the film, I had some people call me and say they were on the fence about whether they wanted to adopt or not. And they said after watching that movie, they made the decision to do so.
See, that warms my heart.
Yeah.
That warms my heart.
I got a few messages like that.
Awesome. Well, we have actually run out of time.
Well, dang.
But actually, we're on our way. If you're interested, where you might get to see in another segment, we're on our way to a fundraiser. It's actually the week of my birthday. And so.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you.
My son's birthday today, too.
Yeah, so Amaru is going to do a performance for us tonight at the McCree Goodell Gallery.
Ashley and everything.
Thank you so much. I'm looking for you coming back through so we can do a whole full hour segment. Yeah, and I just...
I'll be oiled up and everything. I'm not oiled up, but I'll be, non-ashy.
Lotioned up, greased up. But anyway, thank you so much for being here with us. And it's a joy, as I knew it would be. And I'm looking forward to us just hanging out some more and doing some fun things and some healing things. So there you have it, another segment of Visions for a Child's Heart. We want to thank you for tuning in. Tell your friends, and most of all, do something special for a child's heart. And look up Mr. Amaru, the real Amaru, give him your website.
TheRealAmaru.com.
Okay,
Or you can just Google The Real Amaru. Make sure you have memory on your computer because I will shut it down. Oh, we go over my business. My phone all over my
Bye-bye. God bless.
Like, that place is listening. Any other time you ain't listening.
Heavenly mothers crying, seas of children are dying at the hands of the other child. I know her heart is breaking. Feel the earth is shaking. That rivers flow from the tears she cries. She cries, she cries. See Rachel's